Assalamu alaikum. I am just deeply honored and humbled to be here, and I want everyone to give another round of applause to Sister Aisha for a wonderful, well-researched, motivating presentation. So thank you, Aisha, for all the work that you do. I want you to show some love to the women leaders behind the Muslim Women's Alliance. I love them so much. They are some of the most inspiring women in our country, doing some of the most inspirational work on behalf of us all. And while they may think that they're in Chicago and doing just local Chicago work, I want them to know that their work reverberates around the country, and it speaks to my heart. So thank you so much for your leadership and for this work. I think it's good sometimes to bring two speakers who look at a subject and kind of have different interpretations of what they want to say about when they see the word stronger together. And I think what Aisha did is she really talked to us about what it means to be stronger together in more of the kind of lifestyle and the way that we want to show up in the world and the way that we take care of ourselves internally and the interactions we have externally. And I think that really is important, and I actually did not even think about that when I saw the title. Like, it just didn't come to me. So when she shared her presentation, it really just allowed me to kind of think in such a broader sense. So I appreciate that you kind of opened our minds in that way. But I'm gonna do what the Linda Sarsour way when I see stronger together. And what that means for me is I think about the moment that I'm in, and I think about the time, and I think, what does it mean for us as a Muslim community to be stronger together? What is the context of the world that we live in that requires us as a Muslim community to be stronger together? And I want to say something very important, because a lot of times people see me and they think I'm some extraordinary person. I'm really not extraordinary in any way. And I see a lot of women in this audience and a lot of young sisters. I see moms that I know in this, and I just want to be very clear. I am a daughter of Palestinian immigrants with no high school diplomas. I'm a daughter of parents who came here from living under a military occupation and fleeing a country where they wanted to give their children a better opportunity. I am the oldest of 7 children. My mother had 7 children in a span of 10 years. So I'm the oldest. So I just want you to visualize with me here for a second. I was 10, and I had 6 siblings that were younger than I was. So I'm a child that grew up who really was a mom at a very young age. I was my mother's assistant. I supported my mother, helped her raise my sisters and brothers, and I am their second mother. I was also married at the age of 17, and I had 3 children by the age of 24. I was pregnant twice in college. So this is not, I'm not this woman who's like this career woman who went on and decided to get married when I'm 35, which is not a bad thing. And if that's what you decide to do, that's great. I'm just saying that a lot of times we in the Muslim community, particularly Muslim women, we make 1,000 excuses why we can't be engaged in our community, why we can't be part of organizations like the Muslim Women's Alliance. I remember when I was in college, I had this young white man who was a fellow student of mine, and I was pregnant. And then he didn't see me for like a year and a half, and I was pregnant again. And he was so confused because he thought I still didn't have the kid that I was pregnant with the first time around. So if I could be pregnant twice in college, if I could be a mother of 3 children, I think we all have an opportunity to do something and to give back to our community and to build that strong community that we need. And that doesn't mean that you become like Sister Linda Sarsour, that you become a full-time activist where this becomes your job 24 hours a day. I don't want to set expectations for you that are not realistic. What I am doing actually, sisters, is actually not very realistic. And I realized that too late in the game. And now it's too late. So I'm already too deep in, so it's hard for me to scale it back. But I'm not asking you to do the work that I do in the way that I do the work, and I want to make that very clear. When I think about stronger together, I think about the moment that we live in, and I want to speak specifically about when we talk about Islamophobia and the things that our community is dealing with in this moment. I actually like to learn from the opposition, because I think we have a lot to learn from our opposition. You know, when I think about sisters who wear hijab, and we hear a lot of stories of sisters who get assaulted, you know, at their college campus, maybe at a supermarket, or walking down the street at a mall. Did you ever realize that the Islamophobes, or those who choose to attack us, they don't actually care if you're Palestinian or from Lebanon, or if you're Indian or Pakistani or from Bangladesh. They don't actually care. They do not stop you before they harass you and say, excuse me, what country is your family originally from? When we hear, and this has happened many times in places like Chicago, all over the country, when they come to attack our masajid, do you think that the guy who attacks our masjid, or the men that attack our masjid, do you think they go online and say, let me figure out what madhab this imam follows or this masjid follows. Or let me see if they're Sunnis or Shias. Or wait a minute, are they majority Bangladeshis and Pakistanis and Indians, or are they majority Arab? The bottom line is, sisters and brothers, the Islamophobes don't care. And I always wonder, if the Islamophobes are treating us like we're all one community, why are we not acting like we're one community? Like, I do not understand. So when I think about stronger together, it's in fact aligned with our deen. We always use these words, and we're such a shallow community. We just use words and we walk around, and you see people post all this poetic stuff on Facebook, and we're part of an ummah, and an ummah this. Ummah is family. And I want you to stop and think for a second, and if you are a mother with children, or you have sisters and brothers, or maybe you don't have sisters and brothers, but you have cousins, you have a grandma that you love and a grandpa that maybe lives in another country, or maybe even lives with you at home. Think about what you would do for your own family. What are the things, sisters and brothers, that you are willing to sacrifice for your children, for your spouse, for your mothers and fathers, for your immediate families? What are you willing to do for them? And you know what my answer is? Whatever I am willing to do for my own children, I am willing to do for your children. And that is what it means to be a stronger together community. And that is what it means to be an ummah. We have a problem in the Muslim community. And I say this with love for my community, because I believe in us and I believe in our potential. And I believe that we are a community that has not fulfilled or has not become to the standards that Allah has put forth for us. And let's just be real, all of us. I don't care if you're a scholar, if you're just the guy that goes and prays at the Jum'ah prayer. All of us, sisters and brothers, can always be better every day. When I wake up in the morning, I say, how can I be better than I was yesterday? How can I strive even more than I tried and strived last week? And there's so much that we can strive for to be a better community. Sisters and brothers, I go to a masjid in New York City. I'm not going to lie to you, because whatever I see in my community is everywhere. I've been to, sisters and brothers, I've been to 44 states in the United States of America. I've been to masajid. You go to the masjid, mashallah, a beautiful, large Somali community. You go to another masjid in another city, Arab. Then you got another masjid over here, it's all the Indo-Pakistanis, right? Then you go 20 minutes down the road and it's all African Americans. What kind of community are we? What are we doing? What are we doing? We are building our masajid based either on race or our ethnic heritage or our nationality. That's not what our beloved Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, taught us. We are actually being almost impacted or using the way in which the West has segregated people, and we just fall right in line with the rest of them. You know what I do? I live in southwest side of Brooklyn. Harlem is about an hour train ride from where I live. Sometimes when I have time and it's Friday, I get on the train, take a car, I go to pray with Imam Talib Abdul Rashid at MIB, at the Mosque of Islamic Brotherhood in Harlem. No one says I can't go to any mosque. Why do we choose to stay in our masajid? What if one day on Friday you said, you know what, today I'm not taking my kids to the usual masjid. I'm going to take my kids 25 minutes down the road and I want to go pray with my Somali sisters and brothers. I want to go pray with my African American sisters and brothers. I'm Palestinian. I want to go pray with the Indo-Pakistanis 20 minutes down the road. Imagine if we started setting an example for our children to intermix in our community and show them that, yes, you may be Palestinian, but you know what? You get to pray right next to your African American sister or brother. You get to pray right next to your Somali sister or brother. You get to pray right next to your Pakistani or Bangladeshi or Sri Lankan sister and brother. Sisters and brothers, when you go to if you go to a masjid and you are praying with people who all look like you and speak the same language as you and grew up like you, you're not doing Islam right. I'm sorry. I don't go to masjids where everybody looks the same, and I do not want my children to think that this is what their Muslim American community looks like. We have to disrupt the order, sisters. We got to disrupt what has been set up. And you may say, well, my masjid's been around for 40 years. That's cool. And I am grateful for our uncles and elders who built these masajids for us. And I'm not saying that that's not right. But there has to be something that we do that starts bringing and integrating our community together to really make us the true ummah that we are. You know, when I was thinking about one of the things that really has bothered me is when the Muslim ban came out the first time, and then you saw it was Muslim ban 1, Muslim ban 2, Muslim ban 3, and then we ended up with Muslim ban 4, and then it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and guess what happened to the Muslim community? What happened to us in the Supreme Court? We lost. Let's just be real, sisters and brothers. We lost in the Supreme Court. Where were the Muslims on the Muslim ban? And I'm going to ask you, sisters and brothers, many of us, who has children here in this room? Who has children here? Who has grandparents who are still alive? Who has family members that they love dearly who live on the other side of the world? So, I'm asking you this, and I'm asking it to you with love because it really kept me up at night. I kept asking myself this. I said, do I love my children more than Yemeni fathers love their children, or Yemeni mothers love their children? Do I love my children more than Somali mothers love their children, or Somali fathers love their children, or Libyan fathers, or Irani fathers? Sisters and brothers, you get to go home with your children at night. And there are families in this country who are separated from their children. There was a Yemeni mother who had to fight to come to California just to watch her baby die. Where were the Muslims? How many countries, sisters and brothers, got to be on the list for the Muslim community to rise up and say enough is enough? Leave our families alone. Our families deserve to be together because we are stronger together. They know that we as Muslims, we value family. We love our families. We will do anything for our families. So I don't know. Does Egypt got to be on the list? Does Jordan have to be on the list? Does India, Pakistan got to be on the list? Does Bangladesh got to be on the list? What countries got to be on the list for us as a Muslim community to say that every mother and father in our community deserves to be reunited with their family? Where were we, sisters and brothers? Where was the ummah that we claim when there was a Yemeni father in Michigan who committed suicide knowing that he would never ever see his children who were sitting waiting for a visa in a place like Djibouti? Where were we? We are not even thinking in the perspective of being a community that is stronger together. Because we as a community wait till injustice is at our door for us to stand up and say something. When I go to fundraisers for groups like CARE or groups like the Muslim Legal Fund of America, you know what I always say to people at CARE and MLFA? I say, why in the hell do you even have to have fundraisers? Every Muslim family in America should put $20 to the side, $30 to the side, and say every month my money goes to organizations that are going to defend our communities, whether there's a Muslim ban, whether there's unwarranted surveillance, whether there's mosque oppositions in our community, whether our daughters are being harassed in their college campuses. Why do we, as a community, have to beg our community for money every time, do fundraisers, put out dinners for everybody, when we as a community know that we have the resources to ensure that we have the most effective, strong institutions in the Muslim American community? That's not stronger together, sisters and brothers. The fact that we're making people have to even put time into organizing events to figure out how to impress you about supporting their work, knowing for a fact that one day the FBI is gonna knock on your door. It's just the fact of the matter. I know so many people who never thought that an FBI agent would knock on their door. And then guess what happens when the FBI agent knocks? MashaAllah, I pick up the phone, they start calling CARE, they start calling MLFA. But when they were at the fundraiser for CARE, the shaitan played with their head and they didn't actually give a donation, or actually gave a lot less than they could give. We have so much work to do in our community. And what I'm gonna say to all of you is that, and people say this to me all the time, and it really bothers me. It really does. People say, Sister Linda, and I'm not political. I don't like to do politics. That's it. I like to keep my head down, and I don't do politics. Sometimes I go to some masajid and I do presentation, and they say, Sister Linda, can you come to the masjid and talk about Muslim women's empowerment? But don't be political, because we don't like to do politics in this masjid. This is what I tell people that, first of all, I don't go to masajid to talk about Muslim women's empowerment, because Muslim women's empowerment is political. So if you tell me don't be political, then I'm not coming to your masjid. That's just the bottom line. I'm not going to be there. So I just want to make sure that I've said this in every room at this convention that I've been in. If you woke up this morning and you are breathing and you're Muslim, you're political. That's it. Your existence in this country, in this moment, in this world is political. You can't make a decision. You don't have the privilege in this country to say that you're political or make a choice. You are political. You're breathing. You're political in this country. Your faith has been politicized. Our community has been racialized and politicized. So you have no choice. The other choice that you don't have, and I want you to think about this from this perspective. I don't think it's cool to be an activist. I'm not out here because I think this is a luxurious job to have. It's a very dangerous place to be in. It's a very dangerous type of work that I do. But you know why I do this work? Because my children are worth it. I stand up for my children first and foremost. And this country will come to terms with my Palestinian Muslim children from Brooklyn, New York. This country will respect my children. Just like because they will respect mine, they will respect yours. And I will do anything for my children to live in a country that will respect and embrace them and give them all the opportunities so that they can flourish and thrive. Let me be very clear, sisters and brothers. I'm not trying to live in this country to survive. I want to thrive in this country. And we deserve to thrive because we do have a story here. We come as Muslim Americans with a lineage in this country. And that lineage isn't just to your great-grandfather from Pakistan who came here to go to medical school. It's not just the lineage to your Palestinian grandfather who came here after the 1967 war. It's not just the lineage for whenever your immigrant grandparent or great-grandparent came here. That's why our children don't understand their story in this country and don't have the courage and the resiliency. Because they think that their story started when the first immigrant from their family got here. That's not when your story started. Your story as a Muslim American started when Muslim expeditionists came to explore this country before it was called the United States of America. Yes, your lineage goes back to Muslim explorers. Your lineage goes back to galley slaves, Turks and Moors, who built the first English colony, Roanoke Colony, now known as the coast of North Carolina. Your lineage as a Muslim American goes back to enslaved Africans who were forced to come here to this country. Our ancestors built this nation. They poured their blood on the streets for this nation. So when somebody tells me to go back to my country, I tell them I've been here before you ever knew there was a United States of America. That, my dear sisters and brothers, is the story that needs to be told to our young people. You think you just walked into the MAS-ICNA convention, he says, Assalamu alaikum, you see all your Muslim brothers and sisters, and you think it's magic? That's it? You just magically Muslim in America. This is not how it works in this country. Somebody sacrificed for you to be a Muslim in this country. Somebody had to give up something for you to be a Muslim in this country. The question is, what is this generation, what are you ready to give up? What are you ready to sacrifice, sisters and brothers? What are you ready to sacrifice? I want to know, 100 years from now, I want to hear what a Muslim kid says. Like I just told you where the sacrifices of the people that came before us. MAS is already built. We already have ICNA. We already have Imam Deen Muhammad's community. We already have masajid. We have thousands of masajid in America. No shortages of masajid in America, just to be clear. Islamic schools, you got CARE, Muslim Legal Fund of America, Muslim Women's Alliance. You have all the infrastructure has been built. Let's just be real. What are you building? What are you building? No, seriously, I want you to tell me. I'm going to pass out, I'm not going to do this, but I would pass out a piece of paper. I want to say, what are you building right now? Our elders, our fathers and grandfathers, they will tell you, we built you MAS, we built you ICNA, we built you masajid. What are you building? What are you building to ensure that we will have a strong and sustainable Muslim community in America? One that will outlive you. That's the key here. The key in this conversation is what I do is not about now. Alhamdulillah, I've done work where I've seen the fruits of my labor. I have seen New York City public schools close down for Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr. I saw that. I was part of that campaign. The largest school district in America recognizes our Muslim American students. And it's not just the Muslim students who don't go to school. All schools are shut down. So I know what it feels like to be victorious and to plant seeds and then see the fruits of my labor. But I also know that a lot of the work that I'm going to do and will do and am doing, I'm not going to see the fruits of that labor. I may not see a free Palestine in my lifetime, but I will not stop working for a free Palestine, because I know that one day, man, my children or grandchildren, your children and grandchildren may see a free Palestine in their lifetime. I'm not going to stop standing up for your right to be a free and whole Muslim American in this country. I may not live to the day when we are free and whole Muslim Americans, but maybe your children and your grandchildren will be, and generations of Muslims to come. So what I'm asking of all of you, my dear sisters and brothers, is find something, start building something. And when I mean building, I don't mean building a building. I mean building leaders in our community, building up your children so they can be unapologetically Palestinians, unapologetically from their countries of origin, unapologetically Muslims. And I'll say this to parents in the room, because oftentimes we are an impediment. Although we may be thinking that we're doing something from a good place, it actually has very harsh ramifications on our community. A lot of Muslim students come and tell me, Sister Linda, I want to be active and organized. I want to do things on my college campus. I want to build an MSA in my high school. I believe, I have a lot of passion, but my parents tell me, don't organize. Don't be an activist. Don't engage in clubs at school. Don't join the MSA. Don't join the Students for Justice in Palestine. Wallahi, our kids are so ready for this work. So I'm asking you, my Muslim parents in the room, please do not tell your kids to be small where they are. Don't tell them just go to school and get a degree. I send you to college just to get a degree. No, you don't send them to college just to get a degree. You send them so that they can be a representative for our beautiful deen. You send them so that they can defend us and create more spaces for the next generation of Muslim college students. You need to encourage them to invest in building the MSAs on their college campuses. Invest in them using their voices. When something happens on the college campus and your kid comes home and tells you there's a racist, anti-Muslim bigot coming to my school, or there is a situation where somebody desecrated the Quran on my college campus, or there was a situation where a Muslim sister was assaulted on my college campus, when they come home to tell you, I want you to say, what did you say? What did you do? Not, we don't want to make problems. Khalas, this is from Allah. What are we going to do? Allah says what? Trust in Allah, but what? Tie your camels. Our religion, sisters and brothers, subhanAllah, is such a practical faith. There's so much practicality in it. You don't just sit around waiting for things to happen. Allah gave you intellect. He gave you a mind to think. He gave you tools and resources. He gave you scholars and people with knowledge around you. He gave you professors. He gave you parents. He gave you friends. He gave you mentors. He gave you eyes and hands and feet. Allah gave us blessings. What are we doing with those blessings, sisters and brothers? What are we doing, in fact, to build that strong ummah that we know that we deserve? Sisters and brothers, it's not about just building a strong ummah. We, in fact, deserve to have a strong ummah. And what I will say, and I'll end by saying this, sisters and brothers, is that in order for us to be stronger together, we have to be prepared to stand up for ourselves. And we also have to stand up against all the injustice that is happening. We don't have to pick and choose. I'm Palestinian, but my heart cries for the Yemeni people. My heart cries for the people of Syria and the people of Somalia and the people of Sudan. Sisters and brothers, I love my sisters and brothers in Pakistan and Bangladesh like I love my sisters and brothers in Palestine. Our hearts are big enough to love all Muslim people. There's no oppression Olympics. There's no Palestinians are worse off than the Syrians and the Syrians are worse than the Yemenis and the Somalis are. No. We are capable of loving all of our Muslim sisters and brothers unconditionally. and standing up for Yemenis when they need us, and standing up for the Syrians when they need us, and when something happens to Rohingya Muslims or the Uyghur Muslims in China, we sisters and brothers have enough open heart. Allah gave us so much love. He is the most loving. Why are we not the most loving? While we love our sisters and brothers abroad who are under oppression, we have to love our sisters and brothers who are under oppression here. So you can't love your Yemeni sisters and brothers and Syrian sisters and brothers and ignore our black Muslim sisters and brothers who are figuring out how to be black and Muslim in America in 2018. So when you give abroad, put some aside for our sisters and brothers here who are homeless, who are living in poverty, our refugees who are coming to live with us here, the divorced women in our community, the single mothers in our community who need us, sisters and brothers. We have so much abundance in our community. I promise you, sisters and brothers, that we as a Muslim community are a community of abundance. That doesn't mean that we don't have poor people in our community. It just means that we have an imbalance. There's a lot of people who have more than they need in our community, and there are some who need. So we as a community have to build, and I'm not saying that you need to be ashamed from being a person that Allah has blessed over and over again. I'm just saying, let us try to share our blessings amongst us so we as a Muslim community can set an example for the rest of the world about what it truly looks like to be part of one faith family. I ask Allah to soften our hearts and to unite our hearts as Muslims. I ask you to look beyond race, ethnicity, and national origin, based beyond socioeconomic status, beyond sect of Islam, beyond geography, sisters and brothers, and to bring us together as one people created by our one and almighty God. I ask Allah to instill in you the moral courage to stand up and defend our deen in these United States of America. I ask Allah to make you generous and more kind and more compassionate amongst not only us as a Muslim community, but to our sister communities that live amongst us who also need our love and compassion. And just like our beloved Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, was brought to this earth as mercy to the people, I ask you to be a people of mercy and show each other grace and mercy like our beloved Prophet Muhammad has shown us over and over again. Thank you very much, and Assalamu alaikum.